I'm going to be talking about Google's AI overviews and how SEO strategy needs to change going into 2025. Now, earlier this year, I was offered a $500,000 web project. Now, that would be a huge project for my agency. I'm always trying to make sure that I can keep everybody at my agency on the payroll through the end of the year and longer if possible. I was working with a mortgage company, and what they wanted to build was a big educational content mortgage website. And they needed this project to succeed because they were working in an environment where mortgage rates were going up and demand for mortgages was going down. It really wasn't pretty for their business. But ultimately, I had to decline the project. I said no. It wasn't the right project, and I didn't think it was going to succeed, especially going into 2025 with the changes that we're expecting in Google. One of them is Google's expansion of their AI overviews. So I'd want to tell you why I eventually said no to this large project. Now, one of the issues with the project was that they wanted to build educational content. So like how to save for a home or how to find an agent. This is so 2022, 2023 in terms of a content strategy. Also, they had stiff competition. So they were going up against Rocket Mortgage, LendingTree, Bank of America. These are huge banks that were already doing extremely well with educational content around mortgages online. And they were also ignoring the conversion data. So we had conversion data showing that what was converting really well were searches landing on the mortgage website around mortgage rates or searches around different loan types or applying for a mortgage, because these searches could land right on the mortgage application page, which was awesome. And they were also ignoring the conversion tactics that were already working for them, like the mortgage calculators that would dump people right into an application, or CTAs that sent people right into the application. And also they had these eligibility CTAs that were working really well. But worst of all, they were ignoring the future of search. Now, the future of search has to do with generative AI. We've all been using ChatGPT or Perplexity for search, and we've also all seen Google's AI overviews. We expect AI overviews to answer direct questions for our customers so that our customers don't need to come to our website to find the information that they are looking for. So that means the educational blog articles that my mortgage client was building were not going to cut it. They are not going to cut it when Google expands their AI overviews in 2025. And we're just seeing a lot less of this like top of funnel traffic. But even more impactful than Google's changes, adding AI overviews, is the fact that consumer search behavior is going to change. So we can expect the customers that we're trying to reach with our SEO content to type in longer, more complex queries because they're learning that they can. And then also they're going to have conversations with search engines. This is really a different way to search. And they will be using different platforms like ChatGPT or Perplexity or maybe OpenAI's SearchGPT. So we're expecting a lot to change, and we expect this to happen in 2025. It's important that all of us and marketers watching this presentation, that you take a look at your customers in your market and really ask them what search engines they're using and take a look at your analytics to see if queries are getting longer so that you can understand when they start using other search platforms or searching for more complex queries. Now, a little bit about me. My name is Dale Bertrand. As I've said, I run Fire and Spark. We're an SEO agency in Boston. We only do SEO strategy, so we don't pretend to be world-class at anything other than SEO strategy. And I studied AI in grad school. I built a supercomputer for the government here in the US. So these are wonderful things I love to talk about. And we have a bunch of clients. You may recognize some of their logos, which is also really fun. Now, this is the AI overview. And you've all seen them by this point. They answer really important questions like, who is Jeff Bezos dating? Because we need to know the answer. Now, these AI overviews are great for our customers because our customers are going to be getting direct answers to their questions, but they're not so great for marketers like us, because even if you have the number one result for a query, that number one result is going to get pushed down the page, and we can expect for it to get less clicks. Now, we're seeing these AI overviews for a lot of informational searches. So these are top of the funnel searches at the beginning of your buyer journey, where we expect them in the past to land on an educational blog article or a page like that. They're not going to do that so much anymore now that they'll be educated directly by Google. Now, search behavior is changing, as I said. We expect our customers to be asking different types of questions, and that really is going to change the way that we create content for SEO and our SEO strategy. Now, back in the day, some of you may remember using the yellow pages. The way you use the yellow pages is you flip to the page. Maybe it's photographers. You find a list of photography companies and you call a bunch of them. Some of them call you back. The yellow pages taught us to find the right category, call a bunch of businesses, see which ones call us back. That's the way we use the yellow pages, and it worked really well until Google came along. When I started using Google, Google was just a better way to find information in businesses. Google taught us to search using this cryptic keyword language. We're searching for things like ice cream Boston or pink car used. These are searches that we've learned to do on Google, and it works well, but it's still not natural. A more natural way to search would be the type of conversation that you would have with a trusted expert in the field, or maybe a friend who you trust who can give you advice. And the way those conversations look is something like, I'm looking for a restaurant in Seattle next Tuesday for lunch with a client, and my client eats vegan and I'm lactose intolerant. That's a much more natural conversation. And you can have those natural conversations with generative search engines like ChatGPT, and to a lesser extent with Google with their AI overviews. Now, the way that this changes our SEO strategy is, like with traditional search, what we would do is we were all following the inbound marketing playbook. The inbound marketing playbook has us writing blog articles to attract as much traffic as we can to our website. So our customers are getting educated on our website with our educational content, blog articles. And then what we do is we will cookie them so we can hit them up with retargeting ads, or maybe we grab their email address so we can hit them with some email marketing. This is the middle of the funnel, when they're in the middle of their journey. And we'll use that mid-funnel marketing to push them towards a sale page where they will finally convert. Now, this journey changes with generative AI, because with generative AI search engines, it means that your customers are going to be educated on Google. They're not going to land as much as they were on your educational blog articles when they're trying to learn about solutions for whatever problem it is that you solve with your products or services. So they're going to be in this closed Google platform where they can have a conversation with it, or they're going to be on ChatGPT or Perplexity having that conversation, and they have not had the chance to be introduced to your brand yet. Then when they do land on your website, they're landing on mid-funnel content. This is content like comparison pages, or maybe Q&A, or maybe niche buying guides, or interactive tools. But they're not landing on educational blog posts. It turns out that educational blog posts are not the best way to attract traffic and convert it and grow the authority of your website. But once they do land on your mid-funnel content that you're building out, you'll have the opportunity to drive them to that sales page where they hit the buy button or raise their hand to have a sales conversation. So you can see how the customer journey is changing because of generative AI search. Now, these are your customers, and they are confused. They're confused because they have a lot of questions. You know, they've got a problem. Maybe their door lock is broken. They don't know if they can fix it themselves. They don't know about smart locks. They don't know how much it would cost for somebody to come fix that door lock for them. Now, what they're going to do to find this information is they're going to go to generative AI. They're going to use Google with the AI overviews, or ChatGPT or Perplexity. Now, the problem with generative AI search, like I just said, is there's a wall. Like, they're not going to your website to find this information. They're going to stay on these generative AI search platforms until they are pretty confident in what they want before they ever come to your website. So it's important for us to diversify content formats. And I'm going to talk about some of these mid-funnel content formats that we're using and recommending for 2025 when Google rolls out their AI overviews. But I want to place the content formats in the context of a customer journey. Now, at the beginning of the customer journey, your customers are problem focused. They've got an issue. They might be thinking, my door lock is broken, and they'll go to Google and type in door lock repair. For this stage of the journey, the content we would be creating is those educational blog posts, because we're just trying to help them understand that there are solutions. Maybe we could install the lock for them, or we want them to buy a smart lock. Then in the middle of the journey, they're solution focused, and they might be thinking something like, I want to upgrade to a smart lock, because they learned all about smart locks at the beginning of their journey. And they'll go to Google, they'll type in smart locks, and what the content we want to create for them would be something like the comparison content, or an interactive tool to help them figure out which smart lock would be best for their home, or a buying guide for smart locks, something like that. And then towards the end of the journey, they're brand focused, because they've done their research. In this case, they might be thinking, Google Nest has great reviews, so I want a Google Nest lock. And they're going to go to Google and they're going to type in Google Nest lock. And the content we want for them at this point is we want them to land on that product page with a buy button on it, or a service page if you're a B2B or service business. And that's the type of content that we're optimizing for the bottom of the funnel searches. Now, for the middle of the funnel, we're recommending and building out some data-driven comparison pages. Here's an example. It's a page about wood versus fiberglass versus steel doors, a comparison guide. When you land on this page, it's visual and it's got data. The visual aspect of it makes it engaging. So it drives up the engagement metrics so that Google will rank it and send it more traffic. But also for mid-funnel content, we're building out and recommending guides and worksheets. These can be downloadable, whatever it is that you're able to create related to your product or your service. The nice thing about building a guide or a worksheet is it puts you in a mindset where you're presenting complex information, the type of information that Google's AI can't summarize, and that's going to help you to continue to get traffic and rank for the mid-funnel searches. And then custom tools. These are interactive tools. Think of them as mortgage calculators that we've all seen. But it turns out that AI can help us to create these custom tools pretty easily nowadays. So it used to be that you needed a software developer to build an interactive tool like a mortgage calculator. Now you can build any tool that you could think of for your website as a marketer. It's really just limited by your creativity, and you can use AI tools like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude to build that tool for you. So think about using those tools to build something like a mortgage calculator. And it's possible as a marketer with no coding experience whatsoever. So that really opens up a whole new way that we can build SEO content that converts and ranks in Google and is the type of content with an interactive tool that Google's AI cannot summarize. So it's going to rank for those mid-funnel searches that we want to be optimizing for in 2025. And then also video. So video is a great way to reach your customers in 2025 because it's more discoverable. It's more discoverable on platforms like YouTube and TikTok and many others. Google itself is ranking and showing videos. So to the extent that you know your customers would benefit from a video, you want to be producing video. Another great reason to build video in 2025 and do more video in 2025 is because your competitors probably aren't doing it. That's a huge competitive advantage and opportunity for you. In 2025, instead of looking for a keyword opportunity because your competitors maybe aren't optimizing for that keyword. Instead, what you're going to be looking for is a content format that is underutilized, and maybe a content format that AI can help you to create, or maybe it's video. There are many AI tools that can help you with video, but I highly recommend that you get started with video, whatever that means for you and your business. There are a lot of SEO campaigns that we work on, obviously, at my SEO agency, and for many of them, we're recommending that clients start their content development by creating a video and then repurpose that video into the other types of mid-funnel content that we are recommending. Now, I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to grab my slides. You can pause here, grab this QR code, or just email me. I'm dale@fireandspark.com. You can grab my slides just from me directly or from this QR code. So grab them. You're going to want them for the content examples and some other examples that I am about to share. Now, we're recommending updating existing content. Now, for a lot of the brands we work with, updating existing content is a bigger opportunity for them than creating new content. And the reason why is because they have a lot of content that they've already published on their website that they can update. So I want to talk about how we're updating content. Now, it's important to remember that content does decay. So content decay is a real thing. NerdWallet publishes a ton of content online. They get a ton of organic traffic, but it's just slowly going down over time. And this is what we all experience with content decay, with the content on our website. And next, I want to show you an extreme example of content decay. This is poisonivy.org. Their traffic went close to zero from almost 500,000 visits a month, which is crazy because they hadn't updated their content. So content does decay. So first thing we want to do is we want to find our best performing content. If you start with your best performing content on your website to update, you can get a 20% bump. This is a low-hanging fruit with content updates. Now, you might decide that your best performing content is content with the most traffic or the most conversions or that generates the most revenue. Whatever best performing means to you, start with the best performing content. And one of the things we want to do is update our content so that it's fresh. And dates matter. Google's looking at dates on your pages to figure out how fresh the content is. Google's looking at the date in the URL, or maybe you have a published on date or something like that on the page. But also Google is inferring date for your content based on what you talk about in the content. If you talk about the Paris Olympics in the past tense, then the article must have been written after the Paris Olympics. If you talk about the Paris Olympics in the future tense, then it must have been written before the Paris Olympics happened. So that's important, and that's one of the ways that Google's looking at the content. And Google's also looking to see if you're adding new developments that Google might be aware of in the content itself to determine how fresh it is. And Google will look at that and calculate an inferred date of your content based on the developments you're talking about. So when you're adding new developments, I just want to give an example here. Here in the US, there was a lawsuit where agents who are selling houses and brokering real estate transactions can no longer charge commission in the way that they want to. So that was called the NAR lawsuit, and people think we might not need agents anymore and there are new commission rates. If you're writing about these new developments in your real estate article, then Google can see that you're updating your content because Google knows when this lawsuit happened. And then also adding trust factors, letters after the name, and also institutions that your authors or reviewers might be associated with, and sources, that you're citing sources for facts and information in the articles. That is important. And I wanted to show an example here. You can grab this prompt. It's basically a prompt for creating one of those interactive tools that I told you about. This is one that I created that is just basically how much should SEO cost? And based on the number of websites you might want your SEO agency to optimize, or whether you have a lot of competition or you're trying to do a national campaign or a local campaign, it'll give you a number. And I created this with AI and just slapped it up on a web page. It really is that easy once you start playing around with it. And once you realize that you can create these interactive tools quite easy with a prompt, you'll get creative and you'll start creating a bunch of them. So I also wanted to tell you about one of my writers. Her name is Allie. This is not her real name. This is not her real photo. But I hired her because she's a fantastic writer. And she's got exactly the skill set that I need to write SEO content. And that skill set is pitching ideas and storytelling and writing and editing and proofreading and all of that good stuff that we want our writer to do. Now that is wonderful, but remember I told you that we're writing less content from scratch for many of the brands we work for. For most of the brands we work with, they already have content. So Allie actually doesn't have the right skill set. We've got another woman on our team, Erica. This is not her real name, not her real photo, but she has a completely different skill set for updating content. What she's good at is crafting CTAs and doing visual design and data analysis and competitor research and implementing our SEO strategy. She's got a different skill set, y'all. It's not just the writing skill set. Now, if you're a content writer, marketing copywriter, I suggest you learn these new skill sets. If you are managing a brand or an agency, you need to find people like Erica, or train your writers on Erica's skills, because updating content is going to be much more valuable going forward for many of the brands that you work with, or for your own brand in-house. Now, it's important that your content is unique. If Google doesn't think your content is unique and adding new information to the web, we call that information gain, Google's not going to index your content, because Google doesn't need your content. And if Google doesn't index your content, nobody will find it, because it's as if it's like a library back in the day that had a card catalog. If you put a new book in the library, you would add a card to the card catalog. Now, if you, for some reason, forgot to add the card in the card catalog for that new book that you've got, then nobody's ever going to find it. If Google doesn't index your content because Google doesn't think your content is unique, nobody's ever going to find it in Google, because it's not in Google's index. That's just like it not being in the card catalog in a library. Now, the types of things that we're doing to make sure that content is unique is we're adding a point of view. Imagine writing about how your multicultural identity shaped your perspective as a leader, or that it's time to take Medicare Advantage off the market, or neurodiversity in marketing. How my dyslexia helps me as a CMO. These are very personal article ideas based on a personal perspective and personal experience. That's what makes them unique. And then also designing for clarity. Maybe you're writing about a topic that's already been written online, but you're adding structure to the article to make it easier to consume that information, like a table of contents, or a content summary, or a call-out box, or a Q&A to an article to make it easier to consume. Now, here's a trick that I love. What this trick is about is you can use AI to measure the uniqueness of your content topics, or an article, or a content brief. What's going on here is that one of the reasons we don't like to use AI to write content is because all AI really knows is the average of what's already been written on the web, because it's trained on everything that's been written on the web. And average content doesn't cut it. Average content doesn't even get indexed by Google, because Google doesn't need average content. It already has everything that's been written on the web. Now, because AI knows what is average really well, we can ask AI to rate the novelty of a content topic, or a list of content topics, or an article, or a brief. And it'll tell us on a scale from 1 to 10 how novel it is. And here's an example. I gave it an article topic, selling SEO to the C-suite. And it ranked it with a novelty rating of 5, and gave me a good explanation as to why this wasn't a very novel topic. So use this trick with ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or any large language model out there with AI to help you find unique angles for the mid-funnel content that you're creating, like the comparisons and buying guides, and even like interactive tools you might create. Now, I want to make sure that you guys have access to all of the AI recipes and prompts that I'm using. Here's another QR code. Here's my email address again. Hit me up if the QR code doesn't work. You'll be able to grab this PDF. It's got 30 of the prompts that I use for SEO strategy for all of the things that I'm talking about doing today. So grab my AI prompts, my AI recipes. If you have any questions about your SEO, or you want me to take a look at your website so that you can future-proof it for 2025 and build the right SEO content that is still going to attract clicks and the right customers, even as Google rolls out its AI overviews, and even as your customers start to use other search platforms like ChatGPT, shoot me an email. I'm happy to take a look at your website and weigh in on your SEO content and your SEO strategy. And this is Dale Bertrand signing off. I'd love to hear any questions that you guys might have.
So hello again. Dale is here for the Q&A session. So hi Dale, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect.
And I can see you. Awesome.
Great. Welcome. And it was really great speech. And I think I'm going to listen it again without the stress of the organizing Digital Zone. But I took some good notes. Thank you so much for the effort and for the great presentation. And we already have some questions for you. If you want me to show it on the screen, then you'll be able to read and answer if you like.
Sure. That sounds good.
Perfect. Yeah, here's the first question.
Yeah, so here we're talking about Google AI's predictive capabilities. What I'm doing with Google's AI is I'm using Google Gemini, specifically using Google Gemini 1.5 Pro, because I can give it ideas that I've recorded out of my head for SEO content. And I can ask it to rate different aspects of that content, like how novel is that content, what content formats should I use for the ideas that just came out of my head. So I want to be careful here, because there's many different ways to use Google's AI to predict. One way would be to write a prompt where you give it examples of keywords or converting keywords, or maybe you're giving it examples of title tags that are doing really well, and you might have a new topic that you want to write about, or a page that you're optimizing, and you would ask the AI to predict what the best title tag might be for that page. So that's one of many things, many different ways that you could use it. The last way to use it that I'll talk about is you could give it data. So you can export data from a Google Ads campaign, which might be the search terms report. That's what I use for SEO. Or you could export data from GA4, which would be organic landing pages, or you could export from Google Search Console. So now you have these spreadsheets that you can upload to AI, either Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, and then ask it to predict like which pages you should optimize, or which keywords have a purchase intent so they would convert better. Like there's so much you could do there with that data for using AI for prediction.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And let me get to the second question. Here it is.
Oh, and then tools for automating content creation. So there are so many tools out there for automating content creation. Really, the way that I would think about it is when you're creating content, you've got this workflow from ideation to the final like optimization and publishing. So you really need to figure out like where in that pipeline you would get the most bang for the buck with AI. So at the very beginning of your content development pipeline, you're doing ideation. And when I'm doing ideation, I'm writing on the whiteboard and I'm talking about what I'm writing, so that I have an MP3 audio and I have a whiteboard image. And I can give the audio and the image to Google Gemini 1.5 Pro, which is one of my favorite tools. And I can ask it to help me to do the brainstorm, to choose the right topics to write about and choose content formats and all that. So at this point, I'm ideating with Gemini. Now you can do the same thing with ChatGPT, but that's the beginning of the process. But then you move into the process where you've got a number of different topics and you want to figure out, well, what should I write about? At that stage of the content creation process, I'm worried about like which of these topics would target the right search intent that I'm going after, and then also which ones are novel so that they will get indexed with Google. And I can do the same thing with Claude or ChatGPT or whatever I'm using. But from there, you want to create content. And I see you use the word automate. If you're doing one piece of content at a time, then what I would do is I would use those same tools but it's important that you give it the right context, so that you give it a style guide, you give it a persona that you're targeting. I also give it a list of words to avoid. Like, these are words I don't want you to ever use. And when you're doing one piece of content at a time, then just use Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini. If you wanted to automate it, so you're doing multiple, then personally I use make.com, or you could use Zapier. I also use CassidyAI.com, which I love because it just doesn't require any coding and it's easy and it works. That would be if you really wanted to automate and create maybe more than one piece at a time. But then when you're optimizing your content, this is the trick that I use. The trick that I use is I will go to ChatGPT or any other large language model, and I will ask it to help me create a scoring rubric. Now, the word rubric really tricks people up. All that really means is it's a list of elements that you want to be included in your final optimized content. And it'll generate some, and then you can tweak it so that you have maybe 8 or 10 rules, something like that. And what I do is I use this to score my content and suggest revisions. So one of the items in the scoring rubric might be that it begins with a compelling use case at the beginning of the piece of content, or a compelling benefit, or a very compelling pain point, maybe something like that. If that was part of your scoring rubric, then once you have those scoring guidelines, that rubric that you're going to use every time you create this type of content, man, it makes it easy, because after you've created the content, you can score it and it'll tell you exactly what's wrong with it, and you can even ask the AI to fix it so that it'll score better. So that scoring rubric trick has been super, super valuable to me when it comes to automating content, especially towards the end of the process when you're optimizing it for conversion, you're optimizing it for SEO. You just need to write down all those rules, and then now you've got the ability to automate it.
Perfect. Thank you for the detailed answer. I think it was really beneficial for the question. And also we have the other one, and here it is.
And I see, integrate. How would you integrate AI insights into your existing marketing analytics platform? So a lot here depends on what you're using for your existing analytics platforms. What I'm doing is I'm exporting data. I'm exporting data from a number of different platforms. So Search Console, GA4, Google Ads, and then also my CRM. We're a B2B company, so we're exporting data from our CRM. We happen to use Pipedrive. Maybe you're using Salesforce. And you can pretty easily import all of this data into ChatGPT and then tell it what you're interested in. So if you're asking AI for insights, it helps a lot to tell AI what you care about. Are you interested in new content topics? Are you interested in keywords that will convert well based on the data? You definitely want to tell it what you're interested in. And then you would ask it to create visualizations to help you decide how to proceed, to maximize whatever the goal is you care about. Now, one thing that I'll mention is that I've been using ChatGPT a lot for data analysis, but I found a tool that's better, Julius.ai. It's like a version of ChatGPT that is specifically for data analysis. If you're exporting spreadsheets and you want to combine these spreadsheets, or build visualizations out of the spreadsheets, or extract insights. So take a look at Julius.ai for processing data exports from all of your different analytics platforms.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. I think there are also some messages to thank you for the presentation, but I guess there is no more question, but you also shared the details in the chat section, especially about the if people have questions, so they can reach you from the email you just drop in the event feed, and also people can see the slides deck from the link you just shared. So I think that's all. Thank you so much, Dale, for being with us today. It's really great for us to have you here, and hope to see you in the next events of the Digital Zone.
Oh, well, thank you. I had fun.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.